The Beanholes.
Look it up.
The Beanholes. It's Eric and Nate. The Beanholes. They're really pretty great. So shut up and listen to them talk. Eric and Nate.
All right, welcome to the Beanholes. I'm Nate,
I'm Eric.
and we are kicking off a month of focusing on Futurama,
Yes.
one of my favorite cartoons ever.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
Yes. So Futurama was originally on the Fox network, starting in 1999. March 28th, 1999 was the original air date.
Ran for 4 amazing seasons until, unfortunately, Fox pulled the plug.
Yes. They didn't officially cancel it. They just stopped ordering more episodes, which is
Right.
that's a way of holding on to the property and remaining. Well, I don't know that they ever really knew that it was going to be picked up again by Comedy Central years down the line, but in 2010, after what is that? I'm sorry, 2008, not 2010.
2008,
After 5 years,
Fox had begun 4 straight-to-DVD movies
Yep.
with Futurama. During the release, I believe, of the third one is when the deal with Comedy Central was made that
Yep.
they were going to take all 4 movies, chop them up into episodes, make a season 5 of sorts, air that on television, and once that was done airing, they actually ordered a season 6, an
Yeah.
official
yeah.
new season.
Yeah, largely prompted by, just like Family Guy, by reruns in syndication on Adult Swim being very popular.
I gotta say, I watched more of Futurama from Adult Swim than I ever did when it was on Fox.
Yeah,
I definitely was one of the people. I mean, I was 8 or 9 when that came out, and I wasn't in tuned as I am now to Sunday nights is animation night. Let's watch The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. Back then, it wasn't a part of my lineup of shows,
Right.
so I completely missed it when it was on TV. I'd seen an episode here or there, but once it started airing on Adult Swim, and it was during that time when I would chill out at night, get homework done, or be on the computer, Futurama and Family Guy were always on in the background, and that's when I got to really enjoy the show.
yeah. And I was very in tune with it, and I was upset when it was canceled or when it disappeared from the Fox lineup. But I would have to say I also saw it more on Adult Swim, just because multiple episodes a night, every night,
Yeah.
really helps you catch up on a show. Now, of course, created and executive produced by Matt Groening and David X. Cohen, who had been a writer on The Simpsons, and as a matter of fact, did you know, on one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes, he used his, how they do the middle name is different for everybody.
Yes.
He just put David Watch Futurama Cohen for one of his credits. So also executive produced by Ken Keeler. I believe he definitely took the lead in the writer's room. I don't know if he was the head writer, but I would think David X. Cohen was the head writer. But regardless, Ken Keeler also the third executive producer. 7 seasons in total for 140 episodes, and much of the success due to Christopher Ting, the composer, and in the first 4 seasons on Fox, he had a full orchestra as well. That was something that got cut down. They kept him as composer, but they were just like, you don't have an orchestra now.
Yeah. Not to be too corny, but if Matt Groening is the mind of Futurama, David X. Cohen is the backbone of that show.
Yeah.
Really put all he had into that show, into the writing staff. It's always been brought up just how, and this is even from Billy West and John DiMaggio, listening to them on podcasts, they praise that writing staff for how smart they are. The people on the writing staff were not hired almost based off writers. They were hired because of how smart they were to bring.
Absolutely. You know, I love me some Rick and Morty.
Yes.
But one of the things I don't like is the number of people that think that because they laughed at some fart and poop jokes, that they're smart from watching Rick and Morty, or they get it because they're smart.
There was that meme. There was that thing going around that like, I basically, because I watch Rick and Morty, I am now smarter than you. You don't understand the jokes. Like, it just,
but if there is a smart cartoon that has jokes that you will not get unless you are highly educated, that it would be Futurama. There's but especially of cartoons that also have plenty of humor that's going to be understood by the average person.
Yeah, this is humor that like mathematicians are going to understand.
Right.
The writing staff together has 3 PhDs, 7 master's degrees, and altogether have more than 50 years at Harvard.
Wow. Then they also they're known to have created they created a language they called alienese to use in writing.
Yeah.
Which the original version people kind of picked up it because it was an easy cipher of the English language. It was just each symbol corresponded to a letter of our alphabet, and because they used alienese for the word drink on an advertisement for Slurm, the popular soda in the Futurama world, people looked at that, saw, oh, that's 5 letters, 5 different letters. If that's drink, what else can we figure out? And from there, they figured out the entire alphabet and were able to figure out everything that had ever been written. So the writers made a much more complex cipher where each letter had a numerical value, but that number wasn't automatically corresponding to a letter. It was it had to be, I believe, subtracted from the number previous to it in order to arrive at a numerical value of a letter.
I believe they even got to a third language that I don't know if the third one has been 100% deciphered yet.
Nobody knows whether that one was just so much more complex or if they just started randomly using symbols.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you're ever watching Futurama and you see symbols of like an alien language, up to a certain point, all of them can be deciphered to actual English words, which just goes to how smart this crew is, and the just inside jokes. I know that Billy West was always loved a joke that was inside of the when they go to the moon, and when Fry goes into the actual ship that Buzz Aldrin was in, and there's a plaque on the back wall that's like, this has been donated by the Moon Society, and it's like the fact that they brought it back up there, or took it was just jokes like that you would have to look in the background to get. And
another one is, do you know Professor Farnsworth's bank account number?
No, is it pi?
No, it is. It's 299792458.
See, I don't get that.
Exactly. It's actually the. My laughter was fake too. It's the speed of light in meters per second. So that was just something they threw in there because they knew somebody would recognize that. Of course, one of the other very famous instances of how intelligent the writing staff is, probably the most famous, is the Futurama theorem, also known as Keeler's theorem. It was developed by Ken Keeler, who we were just talking about, for the episode Prisoner of Benda. That was the one where they were switching bodies.
Yep. And
the premise is two people can switch bodies once, but you can't switch between those two again. So you can't just switch back. And they actually figured out, Ken Keeler came up with a mathematical theorem for figuring out the process by which they would need to switch different characters, and what switches needed to be made in order to actually get back into the correct bodies.
Wow.
And they wrote that out on the super sci-fi green chalkboard they have in the Professor's lab.
They're the real Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes.
I found the plaque. It says, Lander returned to this site by the Historical Sticklers Society.
Okay, now that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So let's just go through the voice actors who we've made no secret that we are quite fond of.
This is probably the best grouping of voice actors of any show.
Yeah.
I
And
can think of.
not only are we fans of this group, we're fans of voice actors in general.
Yes.
People who actually I'm not that excited by a celebrity who does their regular voice and gets to make $1 million off of a Pixar movie with only wearing their sweatpants and a t-shirt to work for once. But the people who do several different voices, people like Mel Blanc who do 100 different voices, Hank Azaria, and
Billy West is up there.
Billy West is possibly one of the most talented voice artists of all time. If you know how he does it, he does what almost nobody ever does. For our viewers, listeners that don't know, he plays Fry, Professor Farnsworth, and Dr. Zoidberg
And
on
Zapp
the series.
Brannigan.
Yeah, as well as Zapp Brannigan, who's originally intended to be played by Phil Hartman, who was sadly murdered by his wife a year before the show actually aired.
Wonderful.
But when he would regularly play all the characters in one session, normally, if for example you're playing Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck in one scene, talking to each other, you get yourself into the Bugs Bunny voice and you do all those lines. Then you take a break, get some lunch, come back, get yourself into Daffy Duck, start talking like that, get that right, go ahead and do a session that way and do all the responding lines. Billy West does 3-4-way conversations with characters that sound nothing like each other and just does it all in one shot.
And what's great is he started out that way too when he did Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
After John Kay got fired from Nickelodeon, Billy West was originally tried out for both Ren and Stimpy. John Kay took the Ren part from him, then got fired, so then Billy got it back. And they made him read all the lines of Stimpy and go back and read all the lines of Ren, and he always thought it was so much funnier when he was doing it back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's why in Futurama, I mean, Matt Groening had such control over this show that almost everything was do whatever you want. So, of course,
Yeah.
Billy West, you get a guy like that. And the thought process of going into voice acting, this is getting a little nerdy, but for voice actors, you show them the cartoon or what the cartoon will look like, and it's up to them to try to discover the voice. And like with Zoidberg, he saw the tentacles in front of the mouth and he started thinking, okay, he's a heavier guy. He's got these fish things in front of his mouth. How does he talk? And he started coming up with the voice. And I recommend anybody listen to the Nerdist podcast episode with both Billy West and John DiMaggio, because they both break down how they came up with Farnsworth and Bender and the influences in their life and celebrity impersonations they came up with to come up with those characters. And there's not a person on this planet that has made me pull the car over from sheer laughter and tears than Billy West. Second to that is John DiMaggio, and it's literally anytime he brings out his Larry Fine impersonation.
What John DiMaggio does?
No, Billy West does.
Okay.
And John DiMaggio doesn't do any Three Stooges, but yeah, those
Zoidberg partly
Zoidberg
was
is based off of Curly. Yeah. Billy West now purposely tries to bring in Stooge stuff in every work he does. So always a good laugh for me to hear from them.
And as you were mentioning, the voice actors develop their character, often based on the sketches at least that they're seeing, if not a finished work. They almost never nowadays do finished work and then record the voice. Usually the voice comes first. So what's interesting to me is John DiMaggio actually auditioned to play Professor Farnsworth with the voice that he tweaked it as they went along, but he basically did the voice that we come to know as Bender. It's just so funny that he looked at Professor Farnsworth and thought of Bender as we know him now, but fortunately the casting people were like, hey, could you try reading that voice on this other character? And it worked extremely well.
Right.
So aside from Billy West and John DiMaggio, Katie Seagal as Leela,
well known for Married with Children and
Peg
Sons
Bundy.
of Anarchy.
Yep. As well as 8 Simple Rules.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow.
So then Phil Lamar, also known as Samurai Jack, and from the first run of Mad TV.
Yep. Maurice LaMarche.
Yes, Maurice LaMarche.
Best known as the Brain.
Yes.
And actually
from Pinky and the Brain. Yeah.
famous for his
Orson Welles?
Orson Welles, to the point that he even played the voice of Orson Welles for Ed Wood, Tim Burton's Ed Wood. They had a actor who looked remarkably like Orson Welles, but the voice the guy couldn't do, so they brought in Maurice LaMarche to redub the voice.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Lauren Tom, Tress MacNeille, David Herman, Frank Welker.
That's, I mean,
all fantastic voice actors. Getting any one of these people in your cast is
a win.
Yeah.
And these guys would purposely wanted to record the show together.
Yeah.
So a lot of cartoons now, especially if you have a celebrity, either they have to go, like Isaac Hayes, for example, as chef on South Park, rarely was at the studio recording. He would go to a studio near his home and he would record kind of like in a pre-Skype like video chat, and that's how they would get the voice from Isaac Hayes. But even now, it's just, okay, can you come in on this day, record your lines, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
A lot of these old school voice actors prefer big room, everybody's doing it together setting, because it just adds to the performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. As I'm sure you know, Aloha Mars and Doomsville were two titles that were considered as, and certainly it's Futurama works better. I honestly think if Doomsville or Aloha Mars, I don't think those shows would have lasted 4 seasons on Fox, let alone
Doomsville. I feel like that's echoing a bit of Matt Groening's cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
What was it was like Something in Hell.
Life in Hell.
Life in Hell. I feel like that's echoing that a bit.
Yeah.
And Aloha Mars just, I don't know, it doesn't work really at all.
Yeah. So you opened saying "Welcome to the World of Tomorrow."
Yep.
And the name Futurama was taken from the 1939 General Motors Pavilion exhibit at the World Fair, which was all about the world of tomorrow. So couldn't think of a better name for something like this. It's a little bit whimsical.
Yeah.
and it works. So one of the things that I really like that they did was pay homage to, in very subtle ways, to a lot of the series that inspired them to do sci-fi in the first place. Things like Star Trek, Lost in Space, The Jetsons, Star Wars, and as anybody who's seen most of the series knows, there was an episode that had the majority of the original series Star Trek cast on it. That's not such a subtle nod to the series. They've
written nail on the head right there.
Yeah. But one of the subtle things they did was use sound effects from original shows, not even emulating it, just getting the actual sound effects. So, and a lot of it just becomes what you expect to be hearing in Futurama. It doesn't even necessarily register. But when when automatic doors open as someone's walking through them in Futurama, they're using the actual sound effect from the original series of Star Trek. The police have the batons that extend like lightsabers. They use the actual sound effect from Star Wars. And when they have flying cars, they're using the actual sound effect from the Jetsons. And aside from sound effects, there was only one thing from the Jetsons. There was basically Rosie the Robot with a little bit different coloring was on screen at one point in one episode. But the sound effects are all over the place.
I imagine in the future there'll be another future type cartoon that'll take a sound effect from Futurama and use
not
that
even
as
know.
homage. I know Matt Groening had a real tough time getting some things by Fox. They were not a fan of Zoidberg. They were not a fan of Bender's behavior. In the first episode, they were not a fan of the suicide booths. Groening had said when they would try to give me notes on Futurama, I said, no, we're going to do this the way we did The Simpsons. And they said, well, we don't do business like that anymore. And he said, oh, wait, that's the only way I do business. And kept to his guns. And obviously, eventually, when you got a guy like that working on your show from The Simpsons, making a new show, you're not going to step on his toes. So
you extend a little bit of trust towards someone like that.
Yeah, and he's knocked it out of the park twice. Trying to a third time with Disenchantment on Netflix, but at that time that was his only. He just had The Simpsons. He had really nothing else to fall back on as far as like, hey, here's work I've done. But wow, what a great job.
Yeah. Speaking of the suicide booths,
yes.
Fun fact I like about them is that they give a receipt after they kill you.
Bender has claimed to go through suicide booths many times.
Yes. Well, his first appearance, the coin is on a string so he can commit suicide and get his money back.
It's one of the best jokes of the first episode. Now, when they came back with the movies, those 4 movies we mentioned, Bender's Big Score, The Beast with a Billion Backs, Bender's Game, and The Wild Green Yonder. The first one, very cinematic. It pretty much is like a love letter to the original 4 seasons. All these characters show up. They have musical sequences. The other 3, though, really felt just, they put all their effort into this first film, and then the other 3 movies were like episodes of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel... Well, I know that the team had already been working on season 5 when they got dropped in the middle of season 4. So I suspect that some of those were supposed to just be half-hour scripts that got extended.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're enjoyable enough. But I certainly think, nothing compares to the first 4 first 4 seasons. But I think the 6th season was stronger than the very strange 5th season.
Right. Right. I mean, those things do work better on there, like as watching them as films instead of episodes. But yeah, Bender's Big Score is the top one out of that, and the rest of them just kind of fall. Like Bender's Game, for example, is an entire hour, 90-minute episode of the Futurama characters in a Dungeons and Dragons type setting.
Right.
So I guess in a way it's fun, but they would do that kind of stuff in the regular seasons where they would have an episode going off and doing something weird like that. So seeing it for 90 minutes really didn't make it feel any more special. And even the last episode last movie, Into the Wild Green Yonder, was just literally a 3-episode movie. It really just... those felt better when they were chopped up. But when Comedy Central brought it back, it was strong. It was really good. And I know that obviously over time the ratings will fluctuate, but I was really disappointed that they wanted to end it off.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Seinfeld. They felt they were going strong, and they if you really love a show, who wants to work on it until it's not good,
Right.
So it was I think a difficult choice on everyone's parts. I don't think that see, the difficult thing is Fox was still the producer. Comedy Central was airing the shows, but it was still a Fox show. So it would have to be a runaway smash hit for Comedy Central to actually be making enough money off of these episodes,
Right.
to justify keep doing it, because Fox was pulling in a lot of the money without actually having to put.
You either get canceled like Futurama, or you see yourself, or you see it live long enough to become The Simpsons. Really.
Whoa! Did you just say something negative about The Simpsons?
I there's been some newer episodes of The Simpsons I actually like, but here's the thing: Comedy Central, for years, ever since South Park, has always wanted to find another popular cartoon, and they've never really hit it. I guess, other than South Park, the only other cartoon I can think about that went on semi-long was Drawn Together, and even that really didn't light the world on fire. It was just semi-popular.
I mean, it's kind of a thin premise.
Yeah. They made 3 seasons and a movie, so... but yeah, and so... to me, I thought Futurama was a really good kind of secondary show to have to South Park on that channel.
Yeah.
I really wish they even would have made Wednesday nights like a double feature, like 10 o'clock Futurama, 10:30 South Park, and have those two work hand in hand with each other. But because I think Futurama's new episode were like Monday nights. It was
It was a strange time. I know I never got to see it the first time around. I ended up watching
DVR.
it. Well, they usually put just like they did. I don't have cable anymore. I don't know if they're still doing this, but they in Jon Stewart and Colbert era, they would air the Daily Show and then the Colbert Report the next 12 hours later, in the morning. And I think they were doing that with Futurama as well, and that's when I tended to actually catch that episode. But yeah, it was
Yeah. I think we're just really upset that it's still it still continues on. I mean, to this day the fan base is bigger than it ever has been. They still have iOS games for Futurama, and the cast constantly are hopeful to return to it in some way or form. They did a radio drama last fall.
Yep.
With all the voice actors, and Matt Groening himself is always... He's never been a guy to say, nope, never going to happen. He's always been, Futurama will return in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. The nice thing is that every time there's been an ending, it was... They got to do it in a way that it felt somewhat satisfying.
Yeah.
The episode, The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings, was written with the intent to be a satisfying conclusion. And then Into the Wild Green Yonder was supposed to be...
Ended in a way where the universe was going to suck in.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of season 6, they're like, oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Overclockwise, which was the actual series finale, was written specifically to be the end. And it is a satisfying end.
Yes.
Now, let's see. You had been speaking about Matt Groening kind of getting his way, even though Fox didn't like certain things. One of my favorite stories about that is the they put the 30th Century Fox logo at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
Fox didn't want to do that.
Oh
It was, it was written in the script as like, here's the ending title card is going to be this, and they didn't want to do it. So Groening funded the, every article I have read just says he funded the logo. So I don't know whether that means he funded the production of, like, the animation of the title card himself, whether he actually went out and got a trademark for 30th Century Fox. I have no idea how much actually goes into him funding the logo, but ultimately he just put up a big chunk of his own money and presented it to Fox and was like, "It's done. Are you going to still not let us put it in there?" And they just let him do it.
It's such a very small and simple joke. That's somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor to go, "No, we don't want that."
Yeah.
Who's going to say, like, you're 20th Century Fox, this is the future, it's 30th Century Fox.
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't want to do that.
Playing around with the production company's normal logo has become a pretty standard thing since, but Futurama kind of had to break through the ceiling on that.
Have you ever played the Futurama video game? Like,
No, I never have.
The unfortunate thing is, back when that came out, it was supposed to come out on the GameCube, but was canceled. I only had a GameCube, so it's since become a very tough game to find. It's kind of in the rarity, but I have played it since, and it's a very standard, like, platformer shooter. But they did get the original voice cast to come and voice the cutscenes and the characters and whatnot, and all of the cutscenes were then kind of spliced together to make a Futurama Lost Adventure, which was included on the Beast with a Billion Backs DVD, and David X. Cohen has described it as the 73rd episode. So, and I believe it's available on YouTube now, so you can go and check that out. And it's not bad. I mean, it's still the same writing staff. It's crummy early 2000s CGI video game animation.
I think it was for PS2.
Yeah, PS2 and Xbox.
So yeah, and that's a lot better than the attempt that fans made. I believe it was before the fifth season was really in development. The movies after the fourth season and the cancellation of the show, or the lack of support for the show on the network, there was Fanorama. Its existence is a travesty.
I'll give it this, because
it's good cosplay.
I learned about it from Adam Savage's Tested, and they, during Comic-Con season, they usually will interview a few people who have booths, and you'll check stuff out. And a lot of Tested, they would do a lot of costumes.
Yeah. And
they've done a live-action Zoidberg and a live-action Professor Farnsworth, so they showed off the Fanorama booth, and the stuff, the detail I'll give them is very impressive. The design of the Planet Express ship, they did a live-action Nibbler, and the detail on Zoidberg, it's incredible stuff. But
it's a great example of costume, makeup, and prop and stage design work.
The idea with Bender, I mean, the whole head was animatronic and could actually, like, the voice actor was off camera moving the mouth perfectly. The hands were all puppetry. It's impressive stuff, but when you watch the episode, they try to put it as a movie. It's only like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
You can tell that it's not the same writing at all. Like,
it's not good writing. It doesn't even matter if it's the same writing.
Yeah,
it
feels off. Feels off.
It feels like professionals took a script and actors from a high school drama class and just tried to make it as good a production value as possible, but it still is it's just sometimes your best just isn't good enough.
Yeah. I'm happy that it exists so that you can show off the effort of the stuff made for it, but the actual end product is definitely not worth watching. But it's just, if anything, this shows you how dedicated the Futurama fan base is. That they will go to these lengths to make something, and the fan base, I don't see them ever really slowing down, and it's a show that, because we live in this world where everything is Netflix, Hulu, it's a show that will live on forever, and who knows, maybe one day it will get brought back even for just another movie. It did get brought back for The Simpsons. They did a Simpsons crossover.
Yep.
Simsorama, where now it is canon that Bender is, for all future Simpsons episodes, in the basement of the Simpsons house.
That's true. So, okay. So I just want to get a few things in, few tidbits about the characters, the main characters. Leela was named after a Doctor Who character.
Really?
Yes. Want to guess the name?
Oh, goodness. Leela?
There you go.
All right.
I wasn't sure if you were an idiot or acting or both. But Leela's her last name in the show, right?
I believe it is.
It is. Her name is Taranga Leela.
That was it.
Okay, so that is, there is a song by French composer Olivier Messiaen, and it's called Taranga Leela. And that's actually Sanskrit, and it translates to playtime. So that was just like another smart joke that wasn't math or science. Let's see. Fry's middle initial is J, which is very common with Matt Groening characters.
Homer J. Simpson.
Yep. Bartholomew J. Simpson and Hubert J. Farnsworth. These are a reference to Rocky and Bullwinkle creator Jay Ward, one of Groening's heroes.
Wow.
Wow. Fry's look is based on James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. If you look at the... Did you have that poster?
Oh my god, I did. No, I took the giant... back in Drama Club, there was just this standee...
That's right, that was from... Wow.
Yeah. In Drama Club, there was this standee of James Dean in a trailer that we had that would hold all of the props and furniture and whatnot, and it was there for my entire time in high school, and I took it my senior year. I said, I'm just taking, like, they're never going to use this cutout of James Dean. And what I did, because at the time I had a room in a finished basement, I had placed it on a door, so when you would walk down, it would be one of the first things you see. And my favorite thing is that so many people coming down for the first time, if they just went down my stairs, they would get spooked thinking that there was a person, that, like, James Dean was just sitting up against my door. I don't know where that is. I gotta find that.
So, the red jacket with a white T-shirt and jeans. That was James Dean's look in that.
Billy West's voice for Fry actually is his interpretation of how whiny he sounded in his 20s.
Yes,
and he knew that voicing a character based off your own voice would be harder to replace. So he was like, he knew, you could replace Zoidberg, you could replace Zapp Brannigan, you really can't replace Fry because it's my voice.
Yeah. So let's see. For the episode Bender Should Not Be Allowed on Television, John DiMaggio beatboxed the Futurama theme himself. He has actually won multiple beatboxing competitions. And I don't know if...
He's an insane...
Did we even mention that he's the voice of Jake the dog, as well as...
No, he's also Marcus Phoenix from the Gears of War series. He is Jake. He's... one of my favorites is that he was, I think, Rico the Penguin from Penguins of Madagascar, but it's a character that only, like, grunts. So it's just John DiMaggio, just like...
Bender was named after John Bender from The Breakfast Club. And let's see, Amy, I don't think we mentioned at all yet.
No.
Amy Wong is the professor's intern.
Who rarely does anything around Planet Express.
Yeah, but
I don't see her do much.
Yeah, but there's theories that she's actually the money now behind that keeps it going.
Yeah, because she does come from a rich family.
Yeah, and she's no longer the intern, but she said the job market's so tough, she's just going to stick around. She was chosen to be the professor's intern because they have the same blood type, so that he could do regular blood transfusions from a younger person. So that's some of my favorite things. But something I noticed, I don't know if anyone else has really pointed this out, I think Fry is the only fictional character to have dropped out of college twice with over 1,000 years between the two times dropping out. He dropped out of Coney Island Community College in the 20th century, and then in the 31st century, he dropped out of Mars University.
Wow, look at him. He's just breaking down barriers, honestly. I was thinking of something there was some kind of thing with Fry, and now I don't remember it. I keep thinking about him doing the hustle in front of the museum. He's like, I will now do my people's native dance.
Yes. Yeah.
What was it? The Futurama meme, shut up and take my money, and also the one where he's closing his eyes, like the Fry, the unsure face.
Yeah.
Really was one of the first cartoons to enter like the meme world.
Yeah.
And because the internet just loves them from some Futurama.
Yes, and also because cartoons are easy to turn into highly compressed GIFs.
Yeah. Like SpongeBob, the two most popular memes of this year came from within like the same 5 seconds of an episode. But I'm sure this stuff will live on. I think we pretty much covered. I think the only character we didn't mention was Hermes, and he's a bureaucrat, and that's all you need to know.
Oh, he's also a world champion.
Limbo.
Yeah, world limbo champion. Limboist? Is that?
He is the limboist. And his what's the guy? Slims. What's the
Barbados Slim?
Barbados Slim, the guy
It's
who
his arch enemy.
Yes. That's his Ray Purchase.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right. So catch us next week when we will be
still in the world of tomorrow.
absolutely.
All right, keep on beaning.
Eric and Nate.